Well, hello and welcome back. We are on part 2 of the Patreon interviews. Stay tuned. Well, hello there, YouTubers, Facebookers, and all other onlookers. JPBII here, aka Jimmy P. Brown II, and I'm coming at you with part 2 of the Patreon interviews. It looks like we are definitely going to be doing at least a little bit of a mini series here with these Patreon interviews. Now, you might be asking, if you didn't tune into Volume 1 or Episode 1, basically these are my patrons asking those questions that most interviewers don't ask. So it's just basically getting a little more glimpse into the day-to-days of the artist known as JPBII or JPBII or Jimmy P. Brown II, however you want to deem it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we? We've got a big one today, so we're going to try to get all 26 questions from this particular patron without hopefully having to make a part 2. But if we have to make a part 2, that's quite all right. But if not, that's okay. We'll go ahead and we'll try to fit it all into one. So today's questions come from a longtime super patron. His name is Brendan Stewart, and he is in London, England. I don't know if he's in London, but he's definitely in England, and he's been a long-time supporter, and whom I consider a friend. And it was a pleasure to meet him when I was in the UK in 2019. And in Scotland, and he came all the way to Scotland to come and watch us and just hang out. He hung out with us at the hotel, and afterwards he even had some dinner with us. He's a great guy. So here are his questions. So we're going to go ahead and, like I said, we're going to jump right in, and let's start with question number 1. That is, what could a potential label do better to promote artists like yourself? Well, back in the day, I mean, when we got record deals and all that other stuff, the biggest thing that they could do that we couldn't do for ourselves, I'll give you, for instance, we produced our own demo in 1987 called The Greetings of Death, or the Greeting of Death demo. And it was just 4 or 5 songs. We did it all ourselves. And then I just started making dupes of it. And we, ended up printing over 5,000 cassettes, and just, whether we were selling them at shows or giving them away or sending them to get reviewed, we were doing all the legwork. But again, back then we were still paying a lot of money just to get a chrome cassette. And I wanted them very specific, blank with no labeling, no nothing on them. And because I didn't want just a basic plastic shell. These were see-through. You could see the tape spool. And that's what I wanted. So, but, after hustling and getting that and doing all that for all those years until we got a record deal, obviously the record deal is different. They advance you. They don't just fund you, but they advance you money to go into a recording studio, record, pay for a producer, blah, 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 blah. I think the first Deliverance album was like $32,000. And that doesn't cost for, creating the product, printing it up, getting it out there, paying a sales team, because like Frontline had an online sales team there. And, so or not online as far as like, online, because I don't think that really was a thing yet. So, they were out there making calls, selling our product, doing our thing. And that's all the stuff that they can provide. A label can provide that kind of networking to get you out there and to get, we were with Benson Distribution at that time. And so, we were in every bookstore across the nation and crossing even over into overseas. So, that's what they can do for us. Now, nowadays, we've got the internet. We've got, everything that we can do ourselves. Everything is done via mostly email marketing and social media. So bands can pretty much do it themselves. So I really don't know what a label, other than offering you a huge advance to do stuff, I don't know what more they can do. guys like me that unfortunately were used to that have a harder time now adapting to the newer world of having to promote themselves, get out there, because we think it's like limited to the scope of Facebook, and there's a lot more to it. You know, you got to get out there, you got to do your hustling. Basically, it's almost like the demo days, but on a wider field. You know, but it definitely takes a lot of hustle to get it done. So it's labels can do that for you, but again, whatever they give you up front, you're going to have to pay back. And that's what we had to learn the hard way. So it's a give and take situation, but labels will always find a way to win. Trust me. Question number 2. Also, what could a promoter do to promote attendance of live events to reach more fans and reimburse the artist more realistically? It's the same thing, because in the old days, me and Kevin Platt, our manager and my best friend, we were talking about it. He was our promoter for our very first San Diego show. And, we were talking, back then they just plastered flyers everywhere. They just went nuts doing this kind of thing. And now it's all done by social media. And which I get how it works. I get how it helps. It really does. But, you're reaching people all over the world when you do social media posts. So who cares if you get 500 likes that, everybody's excited about you doing a show in Chicago when everybody liking it is like from El Salvador or London or Scotland or, New Zealand. It's cool to get the likes. It's cool to get the, man, thumbs up. I wish I can go. But are we really reaching people in that area? So to me, it would still behoove promoters to promote locally. But it's difficult. And even promoters today, when we do shows, ask for our help as a band to promote the shows. So, I think if there is any suggestion, I don't really have very many, because I was never a promoter, so I don't know how it works. But talking to Kevin, kind of going grassroots and maybe just plastering flyers everywhere. Couldn't tell you, man. All right, question number 3. Will Jupiter 6 ever return? It's a great question. Yes, we will return. When? I don't know. I can't give you a date, but Jupiter 6, and when I say we is me. All 5 members of J6 was me. I did have a couple of guests on Back from Mars and, of course, on Movable Walls. But for the most part, I do the drums, bass, guitar. And when I say I do the drums, I'm not programming drums. I'm actually playing drums. So, but me and Matt Hunt at Retro, in fact, we're talking. He wants a new Jupiter 6 album from me. And he had a great idea for one. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. We're just probably going to do it and see what happens. In fact, I was talking with George Ochoa about it, and we might work on it together. So it'd be kind of cool. So, okay. So, yes, Jupiter 6 will return. Number 4, was Eraserhead a one-off? Or if so, was it due to sales or label commitment? Self-funded completely. Eraserhead, I funded the entire thing myself in association with Retroactive releasing it, and Three Frog Studio, who I worked for out in Alabama at that time when I recorded the album, was, kind of co-producer for the project. But remember, Eraserhead, I answered this in part 1. It was just the name of the album. Otherwise, that was the first official solo album of Jimmy P. Brown II, JPBII. Because if you look on the real fine print, even though it says Eraserhead real big, it's Jimmy P. Brown II. So it was my first solo album. But as with Fearful Symmetry, as with Jupiter 6, those were in essence my solo albums. But I just did it because I didn't want to put it out under my name at that time. But Eraserhead was the first one, even though everybody thinks that's the name of the band or that's the name of a project. It's not. It's just the name of the album. And it was a nod. It was indeed a nod to David Lynch, the late great David Lynch. Okay, so question 5: could we see a collaboration with Terry Scott Taylor / Savior Machine happen? I would love to work with Terry again, but Terry's in Washington. Terry's retired. Man, but what a joy it would be. But again, everything's about costs. Everything's about budgets. And when you work with a producer, you got to be in the room with them. You got to like sit and talk with them and work out the songs, work out the lyrics, work out the melodies. It's a big to do to work on an album and to work with a producer and an arranger. So yeah, it would be difficult unless we had a pretty big budget. And like I said, with Terry being retired or semi-retired, it's a little tough nowadays to do something like that. Saver Machine, I never did anything with Saver Machine other than I guest starred on their first album. I did a slew of backing vocals all over that album. So, but no plans. And I don't want to ever say never, but I don't see the likelihood of that happening. Number 6. Is there any other stringed instrument you would like to learn, feature on a future release, sitar, etc.? On the novellas, Larry and I were playing around with a mandolin, and that was the first time I ever handled one. And so learning to tune it, learning to make chords, learning to, get on there, and it's so teeny, and to get these fingers in there to get all the right notes. It was a little tough, but boy, it was fun. And I just love the way mandolins sound. If I could ever get a hold of one, I would love to get a sitar. I would love to get a cello. Cello, there's something so magical sounding about it. My brother's a violinist. But when I tried playing violin, it just doesn't work. Maybe I just don't have the patience for it. But cello seems like I would have patience for it. So, but again, a good instrument costs quite a bit of money. So probably not, unless somebody wants to donate one. Number 7. Have you considered recording blues music? I think you would totally nail it, in my honest opinion. Brendan, thank you. I can always count on you for encouragement. But, it's funny. Ever since we were younger, especially with playing with Deliverance and starting to get to play with other musicians, we always start out playing basic boogie, playing basic, 1, 2, 3 blues, and because it's just in our blood. It's the root of country and music and rock and roll and metal and thrash and everything else. I mean, the basic Americana music, which is rhythm and blues, and then country western, because they both are American-born music styles. There are elements there, but to do a blues album, even though you have great confidence in me, I don't know if I could do it. I certainly couldn't sing blues. But you never know. I mean, basic rock and roll is in essence rhythm and blues. So be kind of neat though, but I don't know if I could write the blues. I like writing more moody music than anything. All right, question 8. What do you think of Larry Norman and his music? I love his serious and comedic juxtaposition. Larry Norman's cool, man. He's definitely one of the grandfathers of our movement, of the contemporary Christian realm, as far as music, and especially introducing rock when he started his label with Solid Rock Records, putting out Randy Stonehill and DA and different things. Larry's a trip, though. I met him the first time I met him was at Cornerstone, and inside of a 15-minute conversation with the cat, he introduced himself like 3 times, maybe 4 times. We'd be like talking, and he's like, "What band are you with, Ben?" "Oh, I'm Jimmy Brown with the band Deliverance." "Oh, that's great. Yeah, I heard of you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm Larry Norman." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are, man. It's great." And then a few minutes later, "Oh, hi, by the way, my name is Larry Norman, and you are?" It was just, it was a little bizarre. I don't know if he just was entering Alzheimer's or dementia, or just dropped one too many tabs of acid in his day. I just don't know. But yeah, Larry's cool, man. He's pretty cool. Number 9, would you consider doing a cover or two of Larry Norman's? suggest them. That's, for those of you that aren't patrons of the Patreon, you can request cover songs all day long. And I've done quite a few over the last several years. So that's one of the things that when you're a $5 up, you get to request cover songs. And I don't know. I have not gotten a Larry Norman request. So I guess send one. And if I could do it and I think it sounds cool and it comes out cool, we'll put it out. There you go. All right. Number 10. Could a patron-only inspired and funded CD download ever, or I'm assuming that meant downloadable, be possibly a possibility, not released anywhere else, so very unique? So in other words, it would only be to the patrons. Novella started out that way. That's what Novella, but then once other players got involved, and other folks started to come on board and really, really wanted to be a part of it, like Larry, Jim, and Manny, and now it's just me and Larry. At that point, I felt it was a disservice to those guys and all the hard work they were putting in to not release it publicly. So hence the patrons get it first. You guys get it on physical CD. You don't have to pay anything for it. Anybody who's a $5 up and above member gets the free CD sent to them. It would be cool, and it wouldn't cost much. And maybe we'll talk about doing that. We'll see. That'd be cool. But I would do it. Number 11. Have you ever thought of doing a prog-like musical journey journal concept release? The closest you're going to get to that for me is going to be Camelot 21. Camelot and Smithereens 95 was supposed to be that, but it got ruined. You guys know the story. Camelot 21 came in and fixed it. But as far as like a concept or a musical journey, I think Camelot 21 achieved that. I was working on one called Guidestones, and for political personal reasons, I decided not to after they got blown up because it was too close to the reality of, or even my story that I wrote about the Guidestones being blown up. It was kind of scary, and I would have been afraid to release it at that time. Not that I'm any threat to like anything that's going on or any establishment. It was just more of a personal thing. So, but as far as another one, there's always something brewing inside of me, but I got to try to get what I'm doing out without being an over pesky perfectionist, Let's see. That's number 11. So number 12. Would you try techno again like you did on Assimilation? I love Assimilation, by the way. Thank you again, Brendan. Assimilation was supposed to be that, but it didn't turn out quite so like I wanted. Some arguments started happening with the owner of the record label at that time, Indie Dream. And, he wanted it to be organic, that buzzword. And I wanted it strictly electronica with organic elements, and it was great working with Jim and Justin. That was my introduction to them, and I still work with Justin. I think Jim's in the clergy now, so he I don't know if he does music anymore, but nonetheless it was cool, but it wasn't what I wanted. So it came a lot closer with the next two records that I put out, which was under the Fearful Symmetry moniker, This Sad Veil of Tears, and being very Rammsteinish kind of electronica, and then full-on dark wave with the Loss of Balance album. So, but yeah, one of these days, I know Craig Marshall really, really wants to see another Fearful Symmetry release, so we'll see. Number 13, do you receive enough funding via Patreon to continue? Are other avenues available to you and those wanting to give differently? That's I'm going to get obviously a little personal here, and it looks like we're going to run over today, but that's okay. We're halfway through the questions. I'm incredibly grateful for everything that I get and have been getting, and I have seem to only hover around the 60, 70 mark always. It's always averaging between 60 and 70 patrons. At one time I did get over 100, and it was a very short while. It was 2 months. And people come and go. People leave. Some people literally will join for $1 and then get access to everything and then quickly leave. And that's a bummer. And I've been told by other patrons, you need to lock people out. You need to change passwords. You need to do this. And you make them give you $20 a month to give access. And, you know, first of all, I got to learn to do that. And number two, I don't know that I want to. Because if you're supporting me as supporting an artist you love, then I'm appreciative for everything from $1 all the way to $100 a month. I mean, it's, you know, I'm appreciative of it all. So opening up other avenues at this point, maybe I have to explore it. But you know, I know I've been told to do that, you know, coffee tip or whatever, and some different things. So I don't know. Yeah, thank you for the suggestion, Brandon, because I will look into it. But as far as how much comes in, it's it keeps the lights on, and that's a good thing, because you know, all this stuff requires to be powered, and I can't put it all on the wifey, and she's allowed me and partnered with me to re-pursue music and get out of the casino industry, and but you know, I can't put it all on her. So what comes in helps with the needs, and when it comes to related to everything I do, so which is electricity, food, you know, that kind of thing, water, you know, coffee. Yeah. But I will look into other avenues, maybe. And thank you for suggesting that. And if you do have any suggestions of what avenues to pursue, please let me know. Appreciate it. And that goes for all of you. Number 14. Are you collaborating production or musically with other artists at the moment? You know, I've been asked over the years to produce projects, and I've been asked over the years, you know, I love your mixing, I love the tones you get. Could you mix our project? And whenever I give a price, people just disappear. They not even a response, not even a, boy, dude, that's too pricey, or that's too expensive, or maybe they just wanted me to do it for free. I don't know. And then I get called and asked to do a solo or do a guest vocal appearance. And, but then nobody wants to pay. And it's like, you know, I quite don't understand it. And it goes back to, I think people think like I'm incredibly wealthy, and I'm not. I mean, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment that's like the size of a cracker box in Las Vegas, and this is my bedroom I'm in right now. I'm, you know, I unfortunately do this to my wife and make it half studio, half bedroom, and because I just don't have a place for all my stuff. So when I ask to be paid for different collaborations or for production or anything, when it scares people off, I just don't get it. It's like, why do you expect everything free? When I reach out to people, you know, the first thing I always ask is, let me know what you need. Let me know what your price is. You know, do you have an hourly rate? Do you have a by set rate? What, you know, let me know your rate. When I called John Knox and I called Manny to come and do the Eraserhead album, you know, hey, is $250 a song fine? You know, yeah, that'll work. Okay, and plus airfare and plus hotel stay. Okay, great. I'll see you. You know, if I got it, I'll send it to you, and then boom. I mean, you just kind of know. So when I get asked, and then people like just ghost you because they expected you to do it all for free, I say, Livy, what are you going to do? I just did a thing, a guitar solo on somebody's project, and but they told me flat out it's for charity. It's like, okay, then I won't charge you because it's charity, and which that makes sense. But the other things, people are like planning on, you know, putting out and selling, And whether they sell or not is really not the point. You still got to pay for the services rendered. But so that's why I don't work with artists, because everybody wants it done for free. And when you do get somebody that's willing to pay, they're either slow on their pay or they end up coming up with sob story after sob story as to why they can't. So that's, if you notice, I only produce my own stuff, and there's a reason why. Number 15. On your recent interview with Darusta, you mentioned a possible home move. Why would this be good for you? Location, family, health, tired of the Vegas lifestyle? Yes. Yes to all of it. Vegas was very, very good to us when we first moved here in 2002 to 2010. And then we left. And when we came back 8 years later, it was a different world here. And literally so much had changed. And it was just a bummer to see where it's gone and what things have happened and what's transpired here. And all the people that I worked with in the casino industry either passed or retired or moved out of state, just like what I did. Not many here from the old crew, and all the new crew don't know me, and they operate completely different. So it's just different, and even just to get a part-time gig is difficult, and so it's just a matter of trying to work out, what would behoove, and also crime has gone up here. Things are just different. It's just different. It was a cool place to live when we first moved here back in 2002. Not so much now. So I think all of us want to, me, my youngest daughter who lives here, Shiloh, we just want to take a bite and get out. My oldest daughter, Deborah, lives in Idaho, and she loves it. So never know, maybe there. I've been thinking about moving where Sweetwater is, Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'd love to go out there. So maybe you can get a job at Sweetwater. Delvin, if you're watching, I'd be looking for my resume. Okay, so that's the only reason why we wanna move, and also because it's just way too expensive here. It's gotten really, really expensive, and we're just ready to move on. Yeah. So there it is. If you're enjoying what you're watching here, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe there. And it costs you nothing, absolutely free, and it helps the algorithms and whatever it is that's going on here in YouTube land, so more people will be able to see this video, and hopefully they'll give it a like and a subscribe and help me out. Appreciate it. It costs you nothing, and more importantly, I just appreciate you doing it. Let's get back to the video. All right, now we're at question 16. So, any chance of more music from you and Larry Fargus? Farkas with a K, actually. That's quite all right, Brandon. Yeah, when we're Larry and I are continuing the novellas. Novella 3 has just been taking a long time because I'm working on the Deliverance album, and also just sorting out, trying to reorganize studio situation, gear, and then rehearsing with the band, and there's just a lot that's going on. Mind is trying to process everything, but novella is almost done, and it took a back seat, which has been a bummer to myself and Larry, primarily Larry, because Larry's just chomping at the bit, especially to start on 4, and we started a bit on 4 too, but yeah, we got to complete 3 before we jump to 1 or jump to 4, and then we got a whole other set of stuff that we want to do for Parable, which is the next series, which is going to be a 3 or 4 parter. Yeah, so no, Larry and I are continuing. I mean, fingers crossed, unless he gets mad at me or something one day, and if I move, that's going to be very, very difficult. So, and he and I have considered and talked about that, and he said, if you move, then I might have to move with you. So we'll see. We'll see. Number 17. Has a patron of yours penned lyrics or composed some music and you've compiled a song from it? Would you try it? Maybe a line from each patron? Wow. No, that hasn't happened yet, but that's an interesting idea. So long as people don't mind my monkeying with your lyrics or monkeying with music, very rare for me to just grab something and say, oh my God, that's perfect as is. I always like to tinker with stuff. So we'll see. But it's a great idea. If anybody ever wanted to, I certainly wouldn't say no, because, contrary to what's been said of me, people think of me as a tyrant because I've gone through so many band members and all sorts of things. That, the thing about with working on music with people is, everybody's got to, have the ships all going the same direction. And if you're not, well, then there's no little point in you guys like sticking it out. And I'm always trailing off. I'm always got some other harebrained idea. So that's why I've worked with so many. But if you've noticed, a lot of people return to work with me. So I like working within the realms of comfort, but I do like to experiment too. So we'll see if anybody wants to try to do a compilation or collaboration with me. Please let me know. 18. Question 18. Mac or PC and why? Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. I am a Mac guy all the way. But I wasn't always. And I'll just say this little bit of a story. I won't do too much about it. But, I was a hardcore, diehard, anti-Mac, full-on PC guy, building PCs since I was a kid. I was just, got into it, and, getting the motherboard and the power supply and the case and the hard drives and the RAM and everything, the VGA card and this and this and this and this. And whatever happened, man, it was like I would try to build it to be a hot rod and overclock and have to get super duper fans in the whole box to keep it cool, and even started looking into the thermal where it was, where it had like coolant, and it was ridiculous. I just wanted the computers as fast as possible. And I wasn't even gaming. This was for music. However, in the Windows world, it was just crashing nonstop. I even tried running it normal, so that way, stop overclocking, stop doing this, stop tinkering, just leave things be. And still, IRQ conflicts and crashing and this and that and the other thing. And I remember working with Rick Mester, who was also a patron and a collaborator, because I've worked with him on many a project. In fact, we're working on a project now together. And and he would just he's an IT guy. That's what he does. He tinkers with it all day long. He's a director. And I remember when I was mixing Movable Walls, I couldn't get 2 minutes into a mix without it crashing. And I texted him and I said, man, Rick, I'm frustrated. I'm getting this conflict and it's crashing, and this is the error message I'm getting, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I've told you before, I'll tell you again, get a Mac. And that's it. He wouldn't help me anymore. He wouldn't tell me anything. And at that time, we had just moved. I just left Alabama. And now we were in California, and I had the means at that time. So I just said, screw it. And I went and I bought a Mac. And I never looked back. I just haven't. My wife, Helen, who's been doing graphic arts, did a bunch of album covers for me and graphic work for herself and everything. And for her business, once she got on the Mac, then she had to have one. And we'd heard about it. We'd heard all creatives work in the Mac field, but we were stubborn, and mostly because Macs cost so much. However, I discovered on Craigslist there's a lot of used Macs, and usually a used Mac is a good deal. So So I bought my first used iMac back in 2013, and like I said, I never went back. In fact, I just traded in a bunch of stuff to the Apple store. I mean, I went scrounging around trying to find stuff to trade in, and even called Kevin and said, hey, do you have any old Mac stuff to trade in? And I went and I got that new Mac Mini 4 Pro. Oh my gosh. I have no idea what they did to this computer, but it's astounding, the performance. It's astounding. So might have to do a review on that. So I'm a Mac guy. PCs still have their place, especially if you're a gamer, which all of my kids are. So they're all PC. But Mac certainly has their place for creative. And I don't think there's any other way to go, honestly. All right, number 19. Coffee beans or ground is the way to go for JPB. It's coffee beans. Yeah, you got to grind them yourself. I'm a bit of a coffee snob, I must admit. But I do like the beans. I like getting them and putting them in a cylinder grinder. And the reason you do a cylinder grinder versus beans is the cylinder grinder does not heat up the beans. If you do it in a blade grinder, your beans get warm. If you touch them, they get warm from the friction of the blade. However, with a cylinder, they do not. They remain cool. So it doesn't mess with the taste. Yeah, I know it sounds silly, and just like when you always brew with cold water versus room temp. I'm a little special when it comes to that, but coffee beans all the way. Ground coffee only in case of emergency, like instant coffee, for instance. I love instant coffee, and that's always ground. And for as much as a coffee snob as I am, I still like Folgers. What are you gonna do? All right, number 20. Do any live recordings from Deliverance early days exist? It's funny you should ask that. I have a lot. I have a big box full of memorabilia. And it has video cassettes, mini discs, DATs, everything of old Deliverance stuff. But the video cassettes are the prized possession. So what I would need to do, because in 1987, I actually started selling via the postal service and just advertising in Heaven's Metal and stuff, a video compilation of different shows that Deliverance did. And it was so dorky. It was horrible. I was 17 or 16 years old. What are you going to do? But it was very dorky. Mock interviews with all the band members and just, all these terrible accents and everything. I always had a flair for the dramatic. But it was fun. We put those out and probably sold 50 or 60 of them, but I want to digitize those and get them out for people because I think it'd be fun to sell. They're super cool. Just so people can have, audio's horrible, video's even worse, but at least you get an insight of what's going on with the old days. And I'm talking about Deliverance's first show on. So I'm going to try to do that one of these days, but I got to go to the pawn shop or something and look for a VCR. Okay, number 21. We're almost to the end. Number 21. Does an artist like yourself have to keep releasing material due to minimal income from past music on differing current platforms? Would you recommend this lifestyle? Well, it's funny. Picasso, with all his success, he said a true artist doesn't do this for the money. If it happens to come, great. But if it doesn't, you do what you do because you do what you do. And if that means living in the streets, that means living in the streets. And real artists are like that. Basquiat, all these cats, that lived hard lives. Read up on, Van Gogh and his tragedy of a life, and all the composers, the great composers. In other words, if you choose this lifestyle, 100% of your life to go into it, you can't go into it for the money. Being a part of a rock band, yeah, you can go into that for money, but being an artist, That's not the same. You should always have something to fall back on. And unfortunately, that was my mistake. So I had to, at 27, when it was all over and I had to go look for a job, I had to start at the bare bottom. And, I started in sales and car sales and, doing, janitor jobs, doing whatever. I mean, you just got to do whatever. And then I made it. In casino marketing, I started, I started as the dork on the microphone out in front of the Aladdin Casino, and then eventually became a director. So, it happens, but with long years and perseverance. Had I had a education, and gone to school and got my college degrees, it would have been a different story. So yeah, it's not for everybody. So do I recommend it? No, I mean, you got to count the costs. You got to look and see. I eventually gave up in the mid 90s because shows were becoming more scarce. Grunge had taken over, and nobody, metal was a dirty word, and things just weren't going our way. And I had 2 kids to feed, and so I did it for family, and I just gave up, and I went and I did that. Hence why when we moved back here in 2018, and you guys know my story, started having blackouts and all sorts of weird stuff happening, ended up in therapy and seeing a shrink and all this other stuff. I went back to music, went back to my first love. Helen agreed that this would be the right thing, after all these years of just busting my tail, that she said, you should try this, and get back to it. And yeah, I mean, but it's a tough road. It's not easy. It's not easy, and it's not super lucrative. So I will say this, I just veered off way, way far, but I'm not in charge of my first 5 albums on Frontline, and those are the ones that saw mass release, and Weapons keeps getting re-released over and over and over, along with all the rest of the catalog. But I don't have any control of that. I don't own it. I don't own those albums. And I know a lot of people think I do, and that I'm making all this money off of, these massive releases, and I make $1.25 per disc sold. So you pay $40, I make $1.25. So that's just reality. So and only limited releases are put out, 200. So do the math. It's a blessing, and I appreciate every penny that comes in, but yeah, I'm not doing it for that. And again, I don't have any control over those re-releases. However, Matt is a good man, takes care of me, and then he pays Adele over at Frontline, and Frontline takes care of me still. So, the whole network, they still look out for me. But they have to make their end too. So, I get my artist share, and there you go. Yeah, so that's how it works with the re-releasing of all this, the former stuff. It's because they do it, it's not me. I don't own it. Okay, 2022. Is it financially viable to release physical media as opposed to stream download? I prefer it in my hand, old school and all that. Which do you favor? I love physical media. I think physical media is cool. I remember being young and having the vinyl and holding it in my hands, reading all the liner notes, reading just top to bottom. You learn who was the second engineer on the record, and who they thanked if there was a thanks list, and as you're listening to the record and you're soaking it in for the second, the third, the fourth listen, 10th listen, 100th listen, and you memorize that cover. It's so cool to look at and watch. It's mesmerizing. And those days I miss. CDs, cassettes, it wasn't the same experience. It was just more about listening to the music. So I've got vinyl. Because I think it looks cool. However, I don't have a record player, and that's just because I just don't have the spare money to buy a stereo. So as far as physical media, I don't own any anymore. I just use the HomePods and use my phone to download, I got Apple Music, Spotify, and when I want to listen to music, I just put it through the HomePods, and that makes me sound like a dorky Apple fanboy, but whatever, they sound good. But one of these days, I'm going to have to invest in like a turntable and a proper stereo. I would really like to do that, but so I am a big, I like physical media. CDs, cassettes, but vinyl is really cool, and I'm glad that it made its way back, because I think it's just cool to have the big album cover and to read all those credits. It's really, really cool. Okay, we are coming on to the last 4 questions, so here we go. Number 23, favorite movie style and actors. Ooh. There's so many cool movies out, and I really do. I mean, as much as all the different movies that have come out, and I really, really like and have a fancy towards them, but I'm always go back to The Godfather, the trilogy, and even though it's been a number of years since I watched it. In fact, my daughter was over yesterday, and we had spaghetti, and she goes, "Oh God, remember when you used to make your all-day sauce?" And then we'd watch The Godfather, and 1, 2, and 3. So 7 hours of viewing time, and it was an all-day event, because it took me 6 hours to make my sauce, and then I would serve it over pasta, and then I would, when we'd get hungry later, I'd make big loaves of garlic cheesy bread and then pour it over that and serve slices like that. It was fun. It was a fun event, but I think without a doubt Godfather is still my favorite movie of all time, and it rivals the Star Wars trilogy, the original, episodes 4, 5, and 6. And that is because the dialogue is just unbelievable, but and the story, but those are my 3. And then style of movies, I like old movies. Jimmy Stewart, Humphrey Bogart, Audrey Hepburn, Katie Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe, of course. I just like old movies. They're so fun to watch. Harvey is one of my all-time favorites. I can watch that over and over and over every day, and I still get something new. I've seen that movie probably 120, 130 times, and I still get something new from it every single time. And if you haven't watched Harvey with Jimmy Stewart, you've got to. It's such a great movie. You'll get so many cool quotes from it. But that's it. And as far as actors, there's great actors. I don't have one specific favorite. Everybody knows I'm a closet Tom Cruise fan and a closet Keanu Reeves fan. Just watched finally that Jack Wick or John Wick movie. I watched the first one. I know there's 4. But finally watched it. Helen and I finally watched it, and we were like, "Oh wow, what a great movie!" And it's total Keanu, but it was fun. It's a fun movie. I can't wait to watch the other 3. Number 24, favorite music at the moment. That's difficult because I love, if you're talking about music style or music in general, that's probably not what you meant. It's just like, what am I listening to at the moment? Man, I cannot get enough of that band Spirit Box. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm going to admit I am super late to that party. But I really, really dig Spirit Box. They're just super cool. Ginger's cool, and these female-fronted heavy bands are just awesome to me because they do the growl thing and the fry vocals like super killer, but they can also sing. And but there's something about Courtney LaPlante and her voice, and it's just amazing. And I really love their lyrics. The lyrical content is amazing. So so I've been listening to a lot of Spirit Box lately. And the atmospheric music. Her husband is the guitar player and the main songwriter. dude, he smokes, man. He is just really good at putting stuff together. So, yeah, I think they just are a great team. Number 25, favorite food or drink? Food, yeah, it's always going to be the same thing for me. It's two types of food, steak and potato, or Mexican food, because those are the things that I grew up on, and just get used to it. And it's simple, and it's cheap, and it's easy. And you haven't had real Mexican food, I mean, outside of Mexico, here in the States, unless you have LA or San Diego Mexican food. Even Central Valley and Northern California, they don't know Mexican food. Go to LA or go to San Diego. That's where you're going to get the real thing, man. Favorite drink? Well, everybody knows I download 3 or 4 of these a day. So, love my water, love my coffee. That's about it, because I don't drink soda. And when I do, it's real. It's like Reed's ginger ale, and it's only because there's like all this shredded ginger in it. But otherwise, I don't do carbonated drinks very much. I mean, if it's a hot day, sure. Some beer's okay. Not a big beer fan. And I guess as far as alcohol, yeah, a single malt, you cannot get any better than a single malt scotch. I mean, bourbons are cool, but single malt all the way. That's why Craig keeps bugging me to go back to Scotland with him, because we gotta crack open a bottle. So, all right, and here it is. Last question, number 26. Favorite patron? Laugh out loud, not a real question. Well, I do have an answer for you. My favorite patron is all of you, every single one of you, because you've taken time to actually show that you care for me, and that what I've done over the number of years with my catalog and my music and my interviews and all the things that I do, that it's touched you in some way and you want to give back. So that is every single one of you. And love you very much, and I appreciate you with everything. Oh, I was getting ready to do the Elon. I'm not going to do that. Boy, that cat's been getting into some trouble, hasn't he? And going through some trouble with all this nonsense out there. But well, thank you so much if you made it this far. I appreciate each and every one of you, and look for the next episode here shortly, probably in the next week or two, and keep these rolling out, because there's a lot more questions to answer. So at least I think there are, because I'm going in order received. So let's I look forward to answering all these questions and getting with you all. So it's super cool. Thank you again. If you want to know more, come join us at Patreon. That's because we've got a beautiful family here, and we'd love to see you be a part of it. And you can join us for as a little $5 a month. It's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And come on in, and the water's fine. www.patreon.com/JPBII. And if you want to know everything JPB or JPBII, that's me, go to www.jpbi.com. And for all things Deliverance, go to www.deliverance23.com. We've got some shows coming up. You can go on there, find out where we're playing and what we got going. And you'll find all the links in the description. And go buy some product. Go check out our merch. Do what you got to do and have some fun. And we will see you all very, very soon. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.